Morning all, good morning everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you're all doing grand. All right, let's crack on with this video. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. The channel is growing, peeps. Thank you so much for the support. Really do appreciate that, really do. All right, let's talk about this Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford potential fight for June. News broke last night or yesterday anyway that there is talks about Terence Crawford versus Manny Pacquiao in Abu Dhabi. I can't remember the exact date, but there's even an exact date put down, which suggests to me that talks are speeding up for this one. I don't know where and how to take this, just because in the last 4 months, it was supposed to be Pacman versus McGregor. Fair dues, McGregor lost, but it was supposed to be McGregor. Then we had that Ryan Garcia fiasco, right? I don't know what happened with that. Was it an exhibition fight? Was it a real fight? Ryan Garcia pretty much announced that he is fighting Pacman. Then that died. And then we had Mikey Garcia say he's in talks, and the talks are ongoing and they're very close with Manny Pacquiao. So I was like, okay, cool, Mikey. And let's not even forget, way before all of those was Amir Khan. Amir Khan was in discussions with Manny Pacquiao. Now, this is what, number 5, we're getting Terence Crawford. Now, it could be a case of we've left the best till last, because obviously, look, that's the fight I would prefer, but I'm not quite sure, again, how much to take in, just because we've heard of the other fighters as well. So, look, I'm not too sure how sure this is. Look, if it's a case of the site fee happens in Abu Dhabi and that's what they both want, right? That's why the fight's going out there and not in America. Then yeah, it probably will happen, because it's a case of Manny Pacquiao wanting the most money he can get now, when he's probably 1, maybe 2 fights away from retiring. So make as much money as you humanly possibly can. And if it's a case of he has to fight Terence Crawford to make that money, then he'll fight Terence Crawford to make that money. There is no fear in Manny Pacquiao, none whatsoever. I mean, this guy has fought everyone, right? So as much as, yes, he's 42, as much as Terence Crawford is probably the pound for pound number 2 in the world, I think the best welterweight in the world, there's no fear. There's no fear whatsoever. It is strange though now, when you think about him vacating or being stripped of the welterweight WBA title, he will probably fight before Ugas fights. Yordenis Ugas, who was upgraded or given the belt, however way you want to put it, he'll fight before him. So it's weird, like you strip the person and you've given the belt to Ugas, but if Pacman does fight in June, Ugas doesn't have any fights scheduled yet. There is a lot of talk that Ugas will fight Errol Spence, but that's been going on since January, that talk. Nothing yet, so that's a bit strange. Pacman, you know, when we say things like, oh, this fighter's a once-in-a-generation fighter or once-in-an-era fighter, whatever the term is. Yeah, it's more once in a generation, isn't it? Pacman's not that. Pacman is a once-in-a-lifetime fighter. Lifetime. Like, generation is doing him a disservice. Pacman, and look, whether or not he does fight Terence Crawford or not, Pacman for me is a top 10 fighter of all time. I think the older school people will like to reel off names, and it's almost like you can't get in, a fighter nowadays can't get in the discussion. Do you know what I mean? You've got that top 10, and that top 10 has been rubber stamped top 10 for years. Floyd's in it now, but someone's like, oh no, there's no more entries into the top 10. Pacman's in the top 10. You can't be an 8-weight world champion, 5 of them lineal, 5. So basically that means the 5 that are lineal is you beat the man that was the man in the division, 5. You can't be that and not be in consideration or be in the top 10 for me. And now, and what solidified him being in the top 10 for me was the win over Keith Thurman. Just because that win was telling me this guy is fighting, like Pacman's era is done. Pacman's 42. He's done, his era's done, and he's still fighting guys from this era and beating them. And the idea of him now fighting Terence Crawford, who again, a lot of people think is the best welterweight, it's either 1 or 2, right, with him and Spence. A lot of people say he's number 2, number 3, pound for pound. The idea of him now fighting that guy, like imagine Pacman beats Terence Crawford. Like if he beats Terence Crawford, I'm telling you now, I will make an argument to say Pacman is top 4 or 5 of all time if he were to beat Bud Crawford, who, let's not forget, himself as an unbeaten 3-weight world champion. Like Pacman the Pacman that I grew up and loved is anything between 10 and 15 years past his prime. Did you hear me? 10 and 15 years past his prime. And this is the guy that's going to fight Terence Crawford, who right now some will say is in his prime. It's incredible. It's incredible. I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you. It's look, I favor Terence Crawford heavily. Right. I mean, this is a Pacman that hasn't fought since he fought Keith Thurman, which was what? Was it August 2019? Let's have a quick look. I think it was. I don't know why I'm thinking 2018, but I think it was 2019. So you're talking, by the time the fight rolls around, nearly 2 years out of the ring. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. July 2019, 20th of July 2019. So yeah, even more closer than 2 years out of the ring. This is a fight that Terence Crawford needs desperately. There has been a lot of talk about Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter, which I don't mind. It's a solid fight, but it's not what he wants. There's been a lot of talk about Terence Crawford going to 154 pounds, which for me is a bit of a stretch. I mean, look, I don't know what Terence Crawford walks around at, but he always looks lean, doesn't he? This is what he wants. I mean, why would you not want this? I think the shame for him, and I go back to it, is that the fact that if he does get this fight, the WBA belt won't be on the line. And look, I still harbour hope about him fighting Errol Spence, and you'd like to think that if the WBA belt was on the line, and then obviously Spence has got 2 belts, that's it then. If they ever do meet sometime in the future, say the back end of 2021, then all the marbles are on the line, right? Every single belt. You can't help but think if Ugas does fight Errol Spence, and I like Ugas, but Errol Spence will beat Ugas. Errol Spence will have 3 belts. Terence Crawford 1. I mean, if they can't negotiate now, then they're never going to be able to negotiate, are they? So, yeah, I don't know what the WBA are going to do with that one. I don't know, has Pacman been officially stripped? If he has, then obviously, look, my dream of him somehow fighting for that belt were gone, but I thought there was something there. Because it is Pacman, right? I mean, we are talking Manny Pacquiao here. But, yeah, look, if Pacman were to fight Terence, and I dare say beat Terence, then he easily... Look, some people have him over Floyd anyway. Some people will make an argument and say he has a better resume than Floyd, regardless of the fact that Floyd retired unbeaten. If he were to beat Terence, then he jumps over Floyd. Like, you know, the fucking pole vault. He literally cleans Floyd. That's what he does, because let's not forget what Floyd picked Berto. No disrespect to Berto, but that's who Floyd picked towards the end of his career. Pacman saying Crawford. See the difference there? Levels. I do think, I don't know if you guys have seen Mike Coppinger's video, but Mike Coppinger does seem to suggest that this fight is a bit more than just sort of rumors and people talking. Like Top Rank have actually, I think they've secured a pay-per-view slot for that day. Hold this pay-per-view slot. This fight might happen. I wonder what this means for top-level boxing going forward. Like nowadays, with fighters asking for so much money, like ridiculous amounts of money, maybe pay-per-view and a gate isn't enough. Like, unless the pay-per-view is going to do something stupid like a Floyd Pacman or a Floyd Conor. If a pay-per-view is just going to do, and I say just, this is crazy to say that, but 1 million and under, or 1.5 and under, and fighters are asking for 30, 40 million, or whatever the numbers are nowadays, you're going to have a site fee, right? A site fee is going to be the common thing now that people talk about. A site fee, plus a gate receipt, plus a pay-per-view, and then all the sponsorships that go on top. That seems like the thing right now, doesn't it? You know? Look, that's what's holding up AJ versus Fury, right? The site fee thing. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm guessing when Mike Tyson fought Buster Douglas all those years ago, I'm guessing there was a site fee there. I'm guessing there might have been even a site fee when Rumble in the Jungle, you know, Thriller in Manila. I'm guessing they're all site fees, but it's just something we didn't know about back then. All right, let's get into some news. By the way, Tim Tszyu, Now, I have to admit, I've only seen highlights of the performance. I've not seen the full fight. So I'm always a bit uncomfortable to talk about a performance when I've not seen it. But for him to get rid of Hogan, I mean, when you talk about the 154-pound fighters in the world now, like the best ones, let's put Tim Tszyu in that conversation, please. Let's put him in the conversation. I mean, that's a good win now. That's a solid win over Jeff Horn as well. A couple of fights before that. He's now in the mix. Fact, I mean, you can only, and look, this isn't how it works and we shouldn't do this, but you can only look at the way Charlo, his performance against Hogan and how he got rid of him and the round in which he got rid of him, and then look at what Tim Tszyu's done. Again, it shouldn't really work like that. That's a bit silly of me. But, I mean, that's what we do, right? When you get one fighter that's fought a couple of guys, you compare how those couple of guys have dealt with that fighter. And Tim Tszyu is legit. Is very, very, very legit. Very legit. Obviously, has he had any fights out of Australia? Let's have a look. Because I would like to see him come to America and have a couple against these Americans. No. Not all his fights have been in Australia. It'd be good to see him have a fight in the States, just so he can grow that name. I mean, look, some of these fighters were like, why do I need to travel to the States? I can fill arenas and I can do stadiums. Why do I need to travel? But in order to get in the mix at 154, those guys aren't traveling. I mean, what I mean? Those guys are not traveling. Like Lubin, which I think will be a good fight. I'd love to see that fight. He ain't coming to Sydney or Australia, sorry, no matter how much you pay him. He's going to want to fight in America. So maybe maybe Tszyu does need to travel to America. What we got here? Some quick fire news as we wrap up for the day. Carl Frampton versus Jamal Herring is on Channel 5. I think I mentioned that before. Now, I don't know if there's any point doing a watch-along if it's on live TV. Look, I don't think people watch the watch-alongs for my commentary anyway. I think people just watch them because it's a bit of fun. So we'll still do it. Let's do it. Might as well, right? I mean, it's at a good time, I think. I think it's around 8, 9. So look out for the community tab. I will announce it on there if we're doing it. Probably are. And what time. I think there's a couple of decent fights on the card. So we'll probably cover a couple of those and then obviously move into, let me say it right, Herring versus Frampton. There is a lot of Carl Frampton versus Jamal Herring. I'm always give the champion the respect. His name first. But yeah, we'll do that one. We will. It was announced officially yesterday that Devin Haney will fight Linares. We'll see. It's weird how a lot of people are like, yeah, great. Devin Haney's finally got the step-up fight. He's a world champion. Such a weird notion that we're saying a world champion has finally got the step-up fight. Like, this is the fight he's been wanting, a world champion, which I guess says a lot about the way in which he got the belt, which is not his fault. I firmly believe he would have fought Loma for the belt, but it is a bit weird saying he's got his step-up fight. Look, it's a good fight. It's the one that I'm looking forward to. I have to be honest with you, this isn't the Linares. This isn't close to being the Linares, but his name is still Jorge Linares, so I still expect him to be sharp for a few rounds. But if Devin Haney is anything like people think he is, like I would like him to be, just because you would like to think that, but you do want the champion to be young and be in and around boxing for the next sort of 10, 11 years. Linares isn't that. So I wouldn't want, for the sake of boxing, for Linares to beat Haney. I do want Haney to win. But let's not get excited if he does beat Linares and say, oh, he's beaten one of the best, lightweights out there. Linares isn't that anymore. Still very good, but he's not that guy anymore. But yeah, that's now done. Good luck to Devin Haney. And let's hope. Look, I've said actually on this channel, I don't expect any of those 4. I don't know what's going on with Gervonta Davis right now, but those 4 to fight each other in 2021. I even think 2022 is a stretch. Trust me, which is incredible to think. But let's hope I'm wrong, and let's hope these guys can get it on with each other. Remember, there is that talk now of Ryan Garcia versus Javier Fortuna for, I think, the interim WBC title. Providing Ryan Garcia wins that, then it should be Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney next, if obviously Haney gets past Linares. What else we got here? What's this? Tony Yoka versus Hubo. Who is this? Let's have a look at this guy. Hubo. Don't even know how to spell his name. Ubaux. Boxer. Never heard of this guy in my life. Okay. He is a fighter. Hervé Hubo, Belgium. He's not even Belgium's #1 ranked fighter, but he's 32-3. If this is what Yoka's doing, his last big name defeat or last big name on the resume was Oscar Rivas. The other big name on the resume is a guy he lost to again, and that was HANEY-LINARES. So when he stepped up, he's lost. This is bad. If this is who Yoka's fighting, I hope this is just a rumor. I mean, this guy's last fight, he fought a guy who was 3-4. 3-4, and we're talking about him fighting the Olympic gold medalist Tony Yoka, who everyone hypes up, including myself. The last guy he fought before that was Jack Mulawai, who was 6-0. Before that was Igor Milahajevic, who was 4-12. That's who Yoka is rumored to be fighting next. When are they going to roll the dice with Yoka and putting him with someone decent? Boy. Gilberto Ramirez says Beterbiev looked dull and flat. Bivol is toughest challenge at 175. Don't know about that. But he did look a bit flat. He did. But he got the job done, right? In the end, got the job done, got the stoppage. So as flat as he looked, got the job done. I see this fight announced, Munguia versus Selecki. Yeah, nothing, no disrespect, that's a good fight, but it's weird, like, you hear all these rumors time in, like, all the time on Munguia versus GGG or Munguia versus Charlie, and then in the end, it's like, never happens, man. Never happens. Andrade saying that Golovkin is waiting for the third Canelo fight. That you need to pay Golovkin a lot more in order for Golovkin to want to fight Andrade. Andrade needs to just not worry about what he's got with Liam Williams. He's got some work there, you know. He's got some work with Liam Williams. Liam Williams will, like, I'm not saying that Liam Williams wins because I think Andrade is good enough to get the result there, but he's got some work. And Andrade used to impress me. Doesn't really impress me as much anymore watching these fights, but gets the job done, but we'll see. With regards to Golovkin waiting for the third Canelo fight, I don't know how you sell it. That's a difficult sell, you know. Difficult sell, Golovkin, Canelo 3. Difficult. Golovkin needs a fight in the interim against someone of note to sell that. Big time. Like, Andrade would be that guy, actually, right? Although Andrade's 160, I mean, I think both would happily go up to 168. You can't fight Canelo off the back of a Zaramata win or Saramata. You can't. How can you? That's a difficult bloody sell, man. All right. Anything else for? You know, someone put this in. You know, we've all been like going back and forth about who Dillian Whyte should fight next, and then a lot of people have said Trevor Bryant's a good kind of interim fight. Plus, obviously, there's a WBA regular heavyweight title there as well. So, you know, he fires himself up in the WBA rankings. That's a good, look, I get why people are saying it. Some have said Charles Martin. Then obviously the dream ones, Deontay Wilder, Andrew Ruiz. Someone here said Otto Wallin. And I like that. I really, really, really like that as a fight for Dillian Whyte. Because that's almost like, I think Otto Wallin's better than Trevor Bryant. I really do. I know people say Trevor Bryant's a good boxer. Doesn't come in shape for me. Never looks like he's in shape. Doesn't take it serious. Otto Wallin always comes in shape. And like, he's coming off that dominant Brazil win, so he's kind of there or thereabouts within that top 20. I like it. And obviously you can sell the Tyson Fury fight factor. It's a good one for me. Good one a lot. All right, so we're getting a lot of these old school fights, aren't we now? So there's now talk about Morales versus Antonio Barrera. It's weird. It's weird having just spoken about Pacman at the top of the show. I mean, this was his era. Obviously, he's a bit younger than those guys, but he mixed it with those guys. And this is an old man's fight now, Morales versus Barrera, which again, just goes to show how crazy what Pacman is doing. There's even talk about another two people that he fought, Marquez versus Cotto, in this, again, I don't know what you want to call it, exhibition old man fight. that again is Pacman's era. Like, he's fought all these guys and they're having old man exhibition fights. I don't know how I feel about those, but look, they're going to happen just because of the money that is being generated with these Mike Tyson fights. People were seeing it and thinking, geez, I mean, let's talk about Sakio Bika, who beat Sam Solomon. I remember Sakio Bika was going to fight Nigel Benn. Let's talk about him calling out Oscar De La Hoya for that fight. Man, jeez. Have you guys been seeing all this Jon Jones thing? We'll end on this. Obviously, look, Jon Jones, Francis Ngannou is the fight we want to see if you're a UFC fan. Even if you're not an MMA or UFC fan, just as a boxing fan, you still want to see that fight because it's a fight, right? I mean, we boxing fans are boxing because we like fights. Now, Jon Jones is asking for more money than he's been paid. And there's a lot of people online saying, oh, Jon, like, you're ducking. No, Jon should be getting paid. Jon Jones is, for me, the greatest MMA fighter we've ever seen, ever. He should be getting paid. What the UFC pay these fighters is a disgrace. You know, like, some of these fighters are like even Jorge Masvidal spoke about it. Jorge Masvidal's been in a couple of the biggest pay-per-views in recent times in the UFC, and he spoke about his pay. Like, Dana White takes the piss when it comes to paying these guys. The piss. Like, I 110% believe that Jon Jones versus Ngannou does well over 1 million pay-per-view buys. And if you think about what Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder got paid for their fight, which done around 800,000, I think they got paid all in all 25, 20 million plus each. Like, you know, Jon Jones isn't asking for that. You know, the UFC have been taking the piss with these fighters just because they can't go anywhere else. I mean, ONE FC is not going to pay them that much. Bellator is not going to pay them that much. UFC pays them the most, but it's still taking the piss. It really is. I mean, these fighters should all be multi-millionaires, like especially the elite fighters. Like, I don't know if you guys know the numbers that these guys do. For example, Kamaru Usman is the UFC welterweight champion. He fought Jorge Masvidal, I'm going to say 4 months ago. No, that's longer than that. What am I talking about? 8 months ago. That fight done 1.3 million pay-per-view buys. I mean, these are numbers that we don't even hear in boxing anymore. 1.3 million. Now, if they were boxers, you'd be saying that these guys must be getting about 20 million each. For 1.3 million, no chance. I'd be shocked if Usman got 1.5, 2 million pounds. I'd be shocked. Shocked. Crazy. All right, guys, as always, thank you very much. Peace and love.